So to kick things off, I would like to get your opinion on the current global economic landscape, the challenges, and of course, how companies and the private sector is rising to the occasion, and of course, the financial reforms needed, if you have any opinions on that.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's a pleasure being here with you. It's a big question.
Yeah, I know.
But let's start with inflation. So I think the world has been able to bring inflation down, as we have seen in many markets. Inflation is probably not going to be as low as we have seen over the last decades. I mean, so there is at least a sort of a common understanding that we're going to be seeing inflation probably slightly higher than we have experienced over the last 10 years. The question is always, and I don't have any crystal ball, when you look forward, what could one expect going forward? There are a number of challenges. The first challenge is sovereign debt. Countries, unfortunately, have accumulated quite a bit of sovereign debt over the last couple of years and decades. The second one is the digital evolution. So we have seen crypto has arrived, has become a real financial asset, but countries are also looking at their own digital currency. So what does that mean? I mean, how is the world going to coexist with a digital currency? Many countries are more advanced in the way they're looking at bringing digital currency as part of their economic grid.
Yeah, I mean, is that a cue for further financial reforms? What do you think?
Well, you see, financial reforms start with a very important shift, which is the consumer is today the one dictating what he or she needs. Consumers need financial products and financial services. They don't need institutions as we have seen in the past. So technology has facilitated tremendously the lives of all of us. I think it's more about deregulation than it is actually about regulation. I think we need to deregulate in a way that is in a controlled manner, allowing consumers to benefit from the technology revolution.
Let's talk a little bit about a political economy here. So Brazil holds the rotating presidency of G20 this year, and of course this year also marks the 50th anniversary of China-Brazil diplomatic ties. How can China and Brazil capitalize on these two platforms to make a difference here?
Yeah. So there are a number of things. So when I come to your question around China and Brazil, they complement each other tremendously. They're big countries in their own regions. China, of course, is bigger in the world scene, but it's the economy in Asia Pacific. Brazil is an important economy in South America. So they have respective leadership roles in their respective regions. The second aspect, I would say, Brazil is, as I said, a food basket. China is one of the world's greatest examples of infrastructure, where Brazil needs and will continue to probably depend on future investments. I think the third, it could be in a number of things. Logistics, for example, today the trade between Brazil and China has increased 5, 6, 7 times when you look at the last couple of years. Today, China is Brazil's largest trading partner on a number of fronts. China has been a phenomenal example of transforming its energy grid to more renewable. So Brazil is now building a very, very solid wind and solar energy industry. So I think there's again here complementarity where probably China will be able not only to sell solar panels and batteries and everything that has to do with the industry, but can also invest and be part of that evolution.
Well, when it comes to developing countries working together, let's talk about South-South cooperation, especially in finance. Where still needs to be done, though?
Well, I think the BRICS have done an interesting, daring initiative, which is the BRIC Bank here in Shanghai. I mean, the development bank for the BRICS. So maybe the question is, what is this bank going to do in terms of objectives? And I think development banks, in a world of technology, in a world that is changing so much, what is going to be their role? I think in the case of the BRIC, of the bank here in Shanghai, infrastructure. I mean, infrastructure is the key cornerstone towards development. China has proven that for anyone who has seen it, and other countries as well, but no one is a better example than China. So I would expect the BRIC Bank to be more ambitious, in their plans around infrastructure investments.
Yeah, China has a critical role in a lot of things here, but how would you assess China's openness in its financial system and its market?
Well, I think the big story is going to be the renminbi convertibility. And China is a good example that thinks and acts long term. So I don't think I think that's going to be, but it's going to be unavoidable. I mean, the renminbi as a currency, when it becomes more fungible, it will have potentially a significant impact on commodity prices, on contracts, on trade. So if trade becomes more multi-currency, the correlation amongst currencies, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So that's one big thing. The second is, of course, the banks in China are huge. They have benefited from most of the savings having to be ring-fenced within China. So it will be interesting along the side of we were talking about currency, when Chinese investors can easily, consumers, can easily invest their savings in other assets than the Chinese banks. So I think that will bring the Chinese banks to become more competitive over time. But all that has to be planned and done as China has been able to do over the last 100 years.